Engage for Success Radio, raising the profile of employee engagement and shining a light on good practice for people who believe there's a better way to work.
Good afternoon and welcome to Engage for Success Radio show number 607, Move Up or Move On. Today we're going to be talking about empowering you to reflect on your personal definition of success and how to achieve it, and we'll be talking about engaged employees and then what keeps people engaged and when it might be time to move on. I'm Jo Dodds, your host for today. I'm an engagement consultant working within the Engage for Success core team. The Engage for Success movement is an inclusive movement committed to the idea that there is a better way to work by releasing more of the capability and potential of people at work. We spread the word about employee engagement and shine a light on good practice, inspiring people and workplaces to thrive. And we're widely supported across the UK, involving the public, private and third sectors. If you go to our website, engageforsuccess.org, you can use the link at the bottom of the page to join our newsletter list, and all our social media links are there too. So my guest today is Sergey Gorbatov, who's a talent and leadership strategist. Welcome, Sergey. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Joe. It's great to be here.
Lovely. So start by telling us a bit about who you are and what you do.
I typically introduce myself as a talent guy. So I have more than 2 decades of corporate experience in large multinationals across different geographies, such as South Africa, Spain, Switzerland, US, Latin America. But I'm also a professor. I teach leadership, HR, and decision makers. And I also a researcher. I write books, and together with my great colleague and co-author Angela Lane, we've written, our first book was about the topic of feedback and how to engage employees through feedback. And our most recent book is called Move Up or Move On. And it deals with the topic with career, how to have a career on your terms.
Lovely. So it sounds like you do a lot and it's very sort of educational. Where has that all come from in terms of your sort of career trajectory yourself?
You know, when children of 7, 8 years of age want to be firefighters or presidents, I wanted to be a teacher. So education has been with me throughout my life, and I've been teaching throughout my career. I would say that's my passion and purpose. And stemming from that, I take many opportunities to convey knowledge, either through writing or by doing keynotes or in the classroom. And I spend a lot of time with the classroom, both with students and executives, and making sure that whatever is we know, whatever knowledge we have about this very messy topics of human performance, human development, talent, are conveyed to decision makers, individuals, employees, HR, in a way that is clear, pragmatic, and engaging.
Lovely. So we said we'd talk about careers and about your book, Move Up or Move On. I didn't realise you had a book about feedback. So I'm going to take us back to that one first before we talk about the other side of things, because it's something that we're just wrestling with in an organisation that I'm working with at the moment, about, you know, how important open and honest feedback is, and actual, you know, feedback that really does make a difference and make change for people and to people. So I'm interested in some thoughts on that. So if we're thinking in terms of engaging people in a workplace, where does that giving feedback come in? Why is it so important?
Let's start from the axiom that the more self-aware you are, the more successful you are in every single aspect of your life. Just think about it. The better you know yourself, the better you know where your strengths are, where your shortcomings are, and where you can do even better. Well, the more successful you are, the more performance you have, the faster you develop, the better relationships. And people don't know what they don't know. And that's where the power of feedback comes in. And we know that there is, in general, deficit of feedback. People don't know how to ask for it. Leaders don't give it. And when they give it, Very often it's fake, particularly if you're a woman. There is a lot of research and feedback when it in differences to genders. Men get more feedback than women. Men get feedback on skills. Women get feedback on behaviors and so on. So there is a lot that is just plain wrong with feedback. But we teach a very practical 3-step approach to giving feedback. 1, tell me why it matters. 2, tell me how I'm doing. And 3, tell me what to do. And the very important first step is frequently ignored by leaders. Tell me why it matters. Today, in this world where we're overloaded with information, we're bombarded with information every time, the leader needs to get to the employee on why that feedback is important. And as Simon Sinek, with his famous golden circle, said, if you give people the why, they'll figure out the what and the how. And we don't tell people why something is important, why it matters to their career, to listen to my feedback. And if they're not willing to listen, then whatever we are going to tell them is likely to fall on deaf ears. So that's step 1, tell me why. But then also step 2 is, okay, that's the meat of feedback. That's typically what's going on. But then step 3, tell me what to do. That is developmental. That's future focused. That's feed forward. And that's the opportunity that's also very often missed, because leaders give feedback and then they expect people to sort of figure out what the leader wants. Well, they don't have the crystal ball. So just tell them and say, hey, next time, and it's so powerful. So next time, why don't you experiment with? And it's no longer about the past. It's no longer about what you did wrong. It's future focused and it's aspirational. So, and by teaching this 3-step model, tell me why it matters, tell me how I'm doing, tell me what to do, every leader can increase the both the performance of their employees and, as a great side effect, their development and motivation.
Lovely. And so how do we get people to be able to do that? Because it sounds really simple, and people know that it's important to give that feedback, and obviously you've just sort of given a structure in order to do that, but people still often don't give honest feedback. They sort of go around the houses. How do we make sure that it's like the right true feedback, rather than, as I say, some sort of fluffier version that isn't quite what needs to be said?
Yeah, that's a great question, Joe. And I will answer it at 2 levels. Level 1 is my own mindset, and level 2 is the feedback culture that you have in the organization. When it comes to your own mindset, we challenge leaders and employees and peers, because we also teach the value of peer feedback and or giving feedback to your friends, giving feedback to your loved ones. What do you believe about it? And very often it's about reframing. Reframing is a powerful tool. I ask my coaching clients, well, if you had information, if somebody had information on how you could be better, on how you can perform at a higher level, on how you can do more, would you like to hear that or not? And the answer is 100% always, yes, I want to have that information. So my follow-up question is, so why aren't you doing that with your team? And that makes people reflect on why they aren't doing that. And of course, another way to reframe that is how you want to be known. So what about your reputation? Do you want to be known as someone who lies to people about how they're doing? Because sooner or later they'll find out. And it will be very sad if they find it out when they're 40, 45 years old, and then they say, well, nobody told me about it. Yes, because everybody wanted you to feel good. Well, think about it. So do you want the person to feel good, or do you want them to be successful? It's like in Hamlet, when Hamlet gave feedback to his mother, Gertrude. You remember that scene? He said, I must be cruel only to be kind. And that's the type of mindset, that's the type of approach we want our leaders to have. So that's at the individual level. at the organizational level, what type of feedback culture do you have? And if you think of culture as an ecosystem, there are several levers that you can pull to make sure that the ecosystem itself, the culture itself, drives leaders to do what's right. That is to give feedback. And we know from research that leadership, for example, is a very important part of an ecosystem. People look at what their leaders are doing or not doing. So that's why the change management effort on feedback culture needs to start with the leaders. I remember once talking to a senior leader who invited me to help him with the feedback culture. And I asked him, so how often do you give feedback to your direct reports? And he said, no, my direct reports are fine. It's everyone else in the organization. And we had a very lovely conversation about that. So leadership is very important. Structure and organization. Do you operate in silos, or are you designing the organization for interconnected flows of information and feedback? Policies and process. So policy, do people know what good feedback looks like? Is it more on strengths or is it more on weaknesses? What do you expect from them? How often? How frequently? From where? So policy and process. Policy defines what good looks like, and process operationalizes that so that things happen when you're not there. And all the other elements, talent, tools, technology, matrix, but in all of those elements need to work in unison to create a powerful feedback structure, culture. And when you have a powerful feedback culture, bolstered by individual feedback mindset, that's when magic happens.
That's really interesting. And I think that at the beginning, when you were talking about asking for feedback for yourself, I think that's one of the things that I've sort of only fairly recently sort of realized, that actually part of creating that culture is for people to ask for feedback and want the feedback as much as it is about giving it. And I think you said that at the beginning. I think that's so powerful. Okay, lovely. So that was feedback. I just like hijacked the show to talk about that. So we're going to talk about the book Move Up or Move On. Tell us why you wrote the book.
My co-author Angela Lane and I, we've spent years watching people frustrated with their experience. And very often that stemmed from them being deceived. Deceived by experts who teach half-truths or anecdotal evidence, deceived by our parents who tell us good work speaks for itself. Well, that's not true. Good work doesn't speak for itself. You really need to make sure that you have a powerful personal brand that is known in the network that you build. We are deceived by companies that we work for because they have vested interests that might be different from ours. So we wanted to bring together this science-based and experience-proven knowledge and advice and write a book that's authoritative, science-based, yet super friendly and pragmatic. And we wanted to bring together the disjointed field of careers into a comprehensive model. And that's the linchpin of the book. And we talk and teach there's 10 practices, 10 career practices. If you work on them, you will be more successful no matter what. We don't know what the future is going to bring. The world of work is in a flux. However, if you align to purpose, if you do great work, if you're rewarding to work with, if you are multiplying options and so on and so forth, there are 10 practices overall that we've distilled. If you're doing all of that, you're far much further ahead than many. And that enables you to have a career on your terms.
Lovely. So there's 10. Obviously, we haven't got time to go through all of those. Perhaps pick up a couple of them that you think are particularly important for our listeners to understand.
Let's zoom in on this concept of doing great work. And very often I ask people and coaching and in trainings, I said, Joe, are you doing great work? And people say, yeah, of course I'm doing great work. I say, how do you know? And that's where the real conversation starts. And we get to this concept of value. You are doing great work if you are creating value. And the more value you create, the better work you're doing. But the thing with value is that value is determined by the value receiver, not the giver. So what we think about our work is less important to our career success than those whose opinion matters. So if you want to do great work, first you need to figure out who are those people, and they may not be obvious. So your boss is, of course, is an important person, your clients, but there are many more organizational, maybe even external stakeholders who make decisions on your career. You're getting a raise, you're not getting a raise. You're getting promoted, you're not getting promoted. You're getting a gig, you're not getting a gig. I hire you, I don't hire you. So who they are and what do they value? And once you know what they want and once you know what their interests are, you make a plan on how to excite them. Because you need to, not to excite, delight them. So because you need to delight them with the type of value that with your work, with what you're doing and what you can bring them. And you agree with them on the expectations, and you plan your work to exceed those expectations. That's how you do great work. And for many people, that is so not obvious, because we tend to evaluate our work by the effort that we put in, while most of our stakeholders and people who's matter look at the output and how that output helps them advance their interests. That's the reality of work, and that's the reality of life. And by understanding that, you can get so further ahead in your career.
Lovely, thank you. And the second one?
The second, let's pick up multiply your options. The more options you have, the higher the chances that you land a job, a gig, a project that you like. It's just a numbers game. Are you multiplying your options? And to answer that question, you need to figure out how open you are to opportunities. And when I say open, it means that you are ready right now to set aside whatever you're doing and spend time, energy, effort, resources in pursuing that opportunity. And we often play a game where I give people a menu of different options. And the options on that menu have different weight. They have different price, so to say. There are 1-point options, 2-point options, 3-point options. And 1-point options are easy to pursue. You can do that in line with the role that you're doing, such as picking up a project on top of your daily responsibilities, or maybe mentoring a younger colleague, or perhaps doing volunteering in your community, doing a piece of research. So something that's easy to pick up, and if it's aligned with your career plan, well, that's a fantastic thing to do. There are 2-point options where you really need to put an effort that will make you less comfortable. There is a learning curve, such as changing a function, changing industry, maybe changing a country for a short-term assignment. So that would really get you out of your comfort zone. But there are also 3-point options, such as taking a sabbatical and abandoning the world of work for a time in order to regroup, recharge, rethink your career, or maybe pursue a PhD That's a major time investment. Write a book, move internationally. And when people look at this menu of different things, they realize that there are many more options that they consider. Very often we are stuck in our jobs and we say, oh, there are no options. That is not true. There are always options. And there are options that you can pick up today. Even if you can't leave your job, you can always modify your job to get more of what you want from your career. It's called job crafting. And there are 3 ways in which you can craft jobs: relational, cognitive, and task. So relational, you can start avoiding people that get the worst out of you, that suck up on your energy. And you can spend more time with people who are positively contributing to your work, who give you energy, who give you insights, who open up opportunities, who give you feedback. So the cognitive crafting is how you think about work. It's this famous parable of 2 people laying bricks, and one of them said, well, that's what I do, I lay bricks. The second answered, well, I'm building a cathedral. Whether you're thinking that you are answering calls or whether you're thinking you are delighting customers really influences the way how motivated and engaged you are in your role. It influences how you see your career, positively and negatively, and that has major implications on your performance and motivation. And finally, task crafting. In any job, practically in every job, there are things that you can just stop doing or deprioritize, and those that you can add to your role. So add to your role those things that advance you along your career plan, and minimize or just stop doing things that are not adding any value. So even if you think that you don't have option, and sometimes that is objective, you must stay in your role. Within your role, you can do a lot to multiply your options.
So you talked about to fit with your career plan. Where does that come from? When should people be thinking about a career plan?
Right. So that's practice number 2, because right after practice number 1 is aligned to purpose, because you need to figure out what's your career vision. What is it that you want? What drives you? What gets the best out of you? Where do you want to get? What is it that aligns with your values? Which environments, context that you're seeking? That is number 1. Once you know where you're going, once you've established your career vision, you need to understand how you're going to get there, and that is your career plan. And your career plan is understanding how you're getting to that destination. And we teach this GPS mentality. Like in GPS, you can put in the exact address and it will get you there. You can also say, oh, I just the center of the city, and it will get you to an area. Or you can give it a very vague address, just sort of the area, get me to this region. And this is how people think about career. There are those who know exactly the role that they want. Somebody wants to be vice president in their company at this level, or I want to be a manager of that by the time I'm 50. And there are people who say, I don't care what I do as long as it's in Paris. And that's okay. If it's aligned with what you're looking from your career. So you have that destination. So you've punched in that your career GPS. You have the destination, no matter how specific or vague it is. And the GPS will give you different routes. It will give you a fast route, and maybe there will be tolls there, so some sacrifice to make. There will be a regular route. You're taking town roads, and there will be a scenic route. So maybe you will stop for a while. You'll have a picnic. You'll enjoy the view. And the different scenarios for you to consider are, okay, what's the accelerated scenario? And accelerated scenarios would always have sacrifices. And that's why we encourage people to play the long game and having an understanding of their considerations right now and life considerations in a couple of years, such as health, on your partner's career, taking care of your loved ones, education, spiritual obligations, whatever it can be, your career plan will need to be calibrated against those. So, and there you have it. You have a destination. You have different scenarios. The accelerated one, the regular one, totally wacky, crazy one, and it is calibrated with the opinions and your life circumstances. Rule number one of career management is life happens. So you need to be prepared for that. And if you have a well thought through career plan with multiple scenarios, you are better off. You're well positioned to make the right decisions.
And is it changing? Is that process and sort of perspective changing as the world of work is changing? With the sort of growth of AI and that sort of thing, or is it, an ongoing truth, if you like? It doesn't change.
We've built this framework as a guidance that prevails time, prevails what's happening in the market. Can you imagine a future when people say, well, I really don't want a job that is aligned with my personality. I really don't think that having a plan is a good idea. I think that doing bad job can get me to where I want to be. If I don't really care how I interact with my colleagues, I don't need to develop, I'll just stay in place. No, you can't. You can't. So AI has entered, and AI can help us be more productive. AI can help us to learn in a different way. It can connect us to the right people, so it can activate the power of the positive networks that you have. It can help you propel your personal brand, give you ideas and opportunities that you didn't have before. But you still need to make transitions from one opportunity to other. Once you land an opportunity, you might feel down or demotivated. And that is because that opportunity is not giving what you want or what you need. It's misaligned with who you are. It's misaligned with the purpose. So we've tested this model with different generations, everyone from students to pensioners, across geographies, industries, with those who are in high tech and those who are in very low tech, such as farmers, and it holds. So that gives us confidence that it's not only science and research based, but actually we've empirically tested that in all those different contexts. But great questions. I appreciate the challenge.
Lovely. Well, we're just coming to the end of our 30 minutes. I suppose just a final thought of why is career management so important for employees and employers?
Well, think about it. You spend 90,000 hours of your life at work, and that's already a good consideration. Well, I'd rather be happy in those 90,000 hours than I'll be miserable. And if you're happy, then your health is better, your relationships are better. And the opposite is true. Stress results in higher blood pressure, cholesterol levels, problems with heart. So if we want healthier people, if we want to be healthier, we want to have healthier relationships, healthier communities, then having great jobs and being happy at work, being satisfied with what you do is important. And for the employers, you want happy and engaged and committed employees. So the employer's job is to make sure that all this, that they enable people to have a career on their terms. And you do that by helping them activate those practices and levers that I was talking about. Because if an employer teaches their employees on how to do great work, well, that raises the bar on performance. if your employer teaches people how to be rewarding to be with, that is, don't be a jerk and be nice to your colleagues, and showing, and by the way, we do that so that your career takes off. Well, why won't you be doing that? Develop intentionally, teaching people on how to really grow and develop professionally through powerful from-to statements and crafting their individual development plans and working on them. Well, employees do that anyway, but they when they teach goal setting, when they teach performance management, when they teach individual development plans, employees hate those trainings. However, when you tell them, we'll invite you to a course about your career and how you can be better in career management, and we teach exactly the same things, but now it's under the source of why it's important to you. Remember, we started this conversation with tell me why it matters. Mm-hmm. Well, this is exactly what the employers need to be telling to their organizations, that it matters because those things are critical to your career. And don't you want to have a career on your terms? Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you, Sergey. It's gone so quick as ever. We could have carried on for ages. We only did 2 of your 10 things as well.
The time flew by.
Exactly. So thank you so much for your time. It's been really good talking to you today. And just to let the audience know, next week I'll be back talking to Mark Rapola, who's co-founder and managing partner at Ground Force Capital, and we're talking about redefining engagement through freedom.
Engage for Success Radio, raising the profile of employee engagement and shining a light on good practice for people who believe there's a better way to work.